Hello, everyone, and welcome to ACSOM's webinar on Supporting Your Future Doctor, A Parent's Guide to ACSOM. We are thrilled that you could take the time out of your evenings or your afternoons to join us and learn a little bit more about supporting your student, about what you can expect while transitioning to the island, and hearing from some experts on those very topics. So I'll introduce myself, and then I'll introduce the panel of esteemed colleagues that we have here. I'll let them introduce themselves and say a little bit about them. So my name is Christine. I am the Canadian Admissions Advisor and Enrollment Coordinator here at ACSOM, but I can also speak to the United States admissions processes and other questions you might have around that. And I'll pass it over to my right, which would be Shibomi.
Hi, good evening. My name is Shubomi. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm a first year, second semester medical student here at ACSOM.
Delilah?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Delilah. I am from Los Angeles, California, and I am in my first semester here at ACSOM in the MD program, but I've been here a little longer because I did do the MD Direct program. And thank you for joining us.
Hi, good evening, good morning. It's nice to see everyone, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Dr. Scott Rinker. I'm the Executive Director of Student Development and Student Success. Just a little bit about myself. I've been in higher education for about 20 years, 10 of the last years have been in medical education and medical education in the Caribbean specifically. So I'm very familiar with the Caribbean medical education landscape. Really looking forward to letting you all know as parents. I myself am a parent. And it's also parents and partners. So you might be viewing this as a partner of someone who's coming to the island. We have some key tips and some information, but we, as a parent, I truly understand how important your children are. And we want to take the best care of them as we can. And we want to put your mind at ease a bit about, both the investment of their time and in the investment of your child in a different location or your partner in a different location. So it's a pleasure to see you all and looking forward to letting you all know some more information about our school.
Awesome. And while we have you all, feel free to post where you are joining from tonight. I'm joining from Canada, as I mentioned. So we'd love to hear where you're from and what part of the journey you're at in your if your admissions. If you're supporting a student, if you're a partner, if you are a student here for more tips and tricks yourself, we'd love to hear a little bit more about you. And then in the comment section as well, feel free to ask any questions that you might have, and then I can answer them during the webinar, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end where our students and Dr. Rinker and if myself can answer, we'll be able to kind of answer those live as well. So feel free to use that comment. I've seen friends be made in the comment section. I've seen, numbers be shared, Instagram handles. So feel free to use that to your advantage and post your questions there if you have them. So on that, we will get started. So tonight's webinar is about supporting your future doctor, a guide to ACSOM. We'll go through a few different items from safety and security to communications to supporting your student to what we do to support your student on campus, from basic needs to academics and career trajectories and residencies. So I will toss it over to Dr. Rinker to tell us a little bit more about the island your students will be studying at, as well as getting really into the content of the presentation.
Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Kushbu. I see y'all commenting in there. It's very nice to see you. Palm Springs, we have a clinical clerkship in Palm Springs, as a matter of fact. So they're at Desert Regional Medical Center. So that's in California. I'm going to talk a little bit about Dominica. So Dominica is a paradise island in the Caribbean. It is not to be confused with the Dominican Republic. They are not the same. It is a former English-British colony. The population there is about 70,000, and it's a fairly sizable island. So the population is distributed across the entire island. The heaviest population density is to the south in the capital city of Roseau, which is about an hour away. And the area that we're in, that the school's in, is not much of a tourist area. There are some tourist resorts nearby, but it doesn't have the same kind of tourist traffic that you would commonly see. With that, the safety and security is increased. So it's a beautiful place to study. One of the reasons that it's such a good location is that there are very healthy distractions, and there aren't a lot of other things on the island that take the focus away from the academic work. I'd really like actually the students to talk in a little bit about their experience of it, but it's a really great place to just focus on the academic work, to live a very healthy lifestyle. And there's a bunch of beautiful scenery and tropics to actually walk through. And of course, the Caribbean Sea is a place that students often like to go to. But the students spend so much time in their minds learning and thinking and manipulating ideas and drawing out pathways that are inside their minds that they have to recall for an exam later on, that the time that they can spend in nature grounds them, gets them back into their bodies, gets them out of their minds for a little bit. So it's a very healthy distraction. Delilah or Shibomi, if y'all want to talk just briefly about, sort of your experience of the island.
Yeah, definitely. So I was really pleasantly surprised when I came to Dominica, and I always love to talk about it because I was born and raised in Southern California. I didn't really know other. I went to undergrad there, and I feel like the idea of moving to a new country was definitely a little daunting in the beginning, but I think the culture of Dominica and the people of Dominica also made it a lot easier. I come from a really big, close family, and coming here and realizing that I do have a very similar support system so far away was very heartwarming and helpful in the transition. So I think that's something that I hold close to my heart, and I think played a big role in me and my success here as a student and as a person in general.
Shibumi, would you like to add anything there?
Yeah, like Delilah said, I on the other hand like grew up in Nigeria, so like it's pretty much it wasn't really much of a change for me because I'm still used to like, the green scenery, but it was still different being that I've never been away from home. And when I arrived, I was like, okay, it looks like it's very similar to back home, but like the people are like, much nicer. Like it felt like I just felt like okay, I felt like I wasn't alone because everybody was so nice and welcoming and like, oh wow, where are you from? Like they like, just carried me on along, like not making me feel like oh a total stranger. So that also helps me transition from, just being like a new person on the island. So that helps me, just transition more and like, be in the right setting and just um made me settle in better.
Very good. Well, thank y'all both. The island is also colloquially known as the Friendly Island, and that is true. People do say good morning, good evening, good night. It's culturally appropriate too to respond, which I really like. I'm from the South in the United States, and when I was a kid growing up, we would always say good morning, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. And elders would expect that of us, and that is the case on the island. If you don't say, and reply to say good evening or good morning, people are taken a little bit back. So it is a friendly place for those of you who maybe growing up in a big city and aren't quite familiar with that. That's one of the cultural transitions to get used to, but it is generally a very friendly place. So we can move on into the safety and security, because I know as a parent, that's one of my top concerns. So we have, it is a very safe place to study. There is a low crime rate in the area. Like I was talking about earlier, there is a There is population density is higher in the south, in the capital city, and typically what you get in those densely populated areas are crimes of opportunity. But that's not the case in what we have up in the north, where the city is, where the school is. We have a security detail that stays on the campus 24 hours and watches out over the students. They look up and down both sides of the road, and they do drive arounds occasionally on a regular schedule to see, how's the neighborhood, how safe are things going. They'll respond to emergency calls of our students. So there's someone always on call that our students can reach out to. Likewise, there's a city just north of us called Portsmouth that has a police substation, and the police have been coming to campus on a semi-regular basis. We've given them coffee to allow them to just, get sort of connected to the community and feel connected to watching out for our students. The area in general is very invested in the success of the school because it is a major sort of economic driver in that area. So the success of the school, the success of our students, the health and safety of our students is really important because that contributes to that community's overall income. So it does also they want to keep problems down in that area. We have students. Do y'all want to talk about the safety? How do y'all feel? And give us your honest opinion about how you feel with the safety and security of the area.
Yeah, so kind of to go off of what Dr. Ringer, what you mentioned about the locals being excited for there to be students here, I think that gives us a really big advantage in the sense that when, for example, me, like when I'm walking on the street, everyone knows I'm a student and I feel safe. Even if something were to happen, which has never happened, I doubt ever will, I know that the locals are also watching after the students because they're excited to have us here. They want to obviously showcase their beautiful culture and country and have us feel comfortable living here as well. So I think that also plays a big role. And also, security on campus plays a really big role in that as well. Kind of as Dr. Vinker mentioned, for example, like if I stay on campus late studying at night, I'll always have a ride back home with security. If there's any issues, you let security know, and they're very, very quick to take action or to make students feel supported and safe, which is, I think it kind of puts everyone at ease.
Yeah, like Delilah said, the security is very much like on standby. Like you just need to send them a message and they respond almost immediately. And I've also felt like really safe. Like even when I first got here, walking outside, I did not expect so much people to like, greet me. So it was kind of like a new thing for me, but I just figured out like, oh, it's actually normal for you to like walk past somebody and then tell you good day. And then yeah, you reply back good day. So other than that, like anytime I'm walking outside, like people already know most of us are students, so they always extra friendly and ask, "Oh, where you from?" and all that. Then I remember my colleagues and I went to the markets in Portsmouth and we're waiting for a bus. And one local literally just said, "Oh, you guys are waiting for a bus? We're struggling to get a bus." And he literally just flagged down a bus and told us like, "Oh, you can get in this one." So like everybody's super friendly. Nobody's trying to like harm you. To just want to help you and like make you feel safe. So the locals and also the security just had to that, and yeah, we feel extra safe.
Thank you very much, both of y'all. I'm glad to hear those things. The campus is it's a closed campus, so if you don't have a badge, you can't access the campus. So that adds an extra layer of safety. And I'm going to jump into the hurricane preparedness, sort of taking a left turn. That's often a very big concern of parents. We have a playbook We have a lot of people who've worked in the Caribbean during hurricane seasons for a number of years. And we have a team of people to do the hurricane preparedness and hurricane preparation. And it starts from 196 hours out. So we're during hurricane season, which goes from June 1 until the end of November. We are constantly monitoring the storms that come off of the coast of Africa, the west coast of Africa. And we're watching them to see them grow and change. We're looking at AccuWeather reports. We're looking at the National Hurricane Center and National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration reports. And what we do is, as we see the likelihood increase towards a named storm or even a depression or something that will come into contact with the island, we have a timeline that we initiate our playbook. And that playbook tells us, okay, it's 5 days away. What do we do in this situation? Well, we monitor at the very beginning, and then we plan out all of the different days that it will take until it arrives across the island. And what we do is we'll open a shelter. We'll make sure we have enough water. We'll make sure that our communications devices and satellite phones are operational. We make sure that we have food supplies. We make sure that we're informing students that there is a storm that could be coming across the island. And we make sure that everybody is aware of what has to happen. Likewise, the team that is monitoring it will meet and talk about what's going on and talk through different scenarios and what the timeline is and what the resources are that we either have to acquire or that we already have. So everybody is paying attention to that for a rather good chunk of time and making sure that we're watching the storms and everyone is safe. Now, with that having been said, the shelter is actually on campus. It is rated for a Category 5 hurricane, which is as strong as it gets. And it's been through a Category 5 and has withstood it quite well. So it's not just rated, but it's actually tested. So it's not formative, it's summative. The students get that joke. But it is a good, strong building, and we have locations for people and their pets and their luggage. So we have everything you can think of, we've thought of. Jumping into the health insurance, all students are required to have health insurance, and it's a really good coverage. Many of our colleagues there in Dominica would like to have it for themselves. I know one person in particular wishes that they had the service provider, the health insurance, as opposed to the one that they do have. But it's a very good health insurance, and it's something that students can use in Dominica, and they can use stateside when they go to clinicals. There are hospitals on the island as well. There is a hospital, a clinic in Portsmouth, which is just up the road. One of our students stepped on a rockfish when I was there last July, and we took him to the hospital clinic, and they took the little needle out, tested him, gave him some pain medication, which was primarily ibuprofen, and sent him back home with instructions. So it was good treatment, got the right amount of care that they needed, and it was right nearby. Likewise, it's called the China Friendship Hospital down in Roseau, and it's an excellent hospital. You know, they have worked with us in the past to make sure that any students who needed significant levels of care were taken care of. And we have a really good relationship with them if we should need it under those circumstances. Likewise, we have a very good relationship with the government, the Commonwealth of Dominica, and our president and founder often meet with them when they're on island to discuss different needs and different things that would be of benefit to the students. So we have a strong relationship with them. And the Prime Minister of Dominica often comes to the white coat ceremony and, shakes hands, kisses babies, but also his presence there is great because it's it definitely supports the notion that we have a good relationship and an ongoing relationship with them. All right, let's move on to the next slide.
Just a bit of, while we're on the topic of safety,
Yeah.
there's just a few questions that I think would be helpful to address. So what is safety like off campus where the apartments are located? And this might be more for the students to chat about, but just since our housing is off campus, what that looks like.
Yeah, so all the apartments that you, I would say, rent out through the school are relatively close to school. And our campus is really big and it covers a wide area. So my walk home is about, I would say, 10 minutes. And 7 of those 10 minutes, I'm walking parallel to campus. So we have a really big campus. All of that is patrolled by security. And then in terms of in the apartments vicinity themselves, I know I would say, I don't want to say 100%, but a majority of the apartments either have your landlord or somebody who works, whose job it is to kind of stay on site, and they live on site, and they're your go-to person for kind of when you're at home. So I know, like, for example, Shibumi and I live in the same area, and we have someone who lives here who is our eyes and ears at all times. He always knows what's going on, and they are like, I don't think anyone has any issues there. I feel safe, at least, and also I think the majority of students do live alone because the majority of apartments are 1 bedroom, and because the housing you choose is through the school, it's all other students as well. So you're not like the only student or kind of like the only visitor there. It's just a bunch of students. So it kind of feels like I'm still on campus sometimes, but I don't know if Shibumi has anything to add to that.
No, like you pretty much said everything. Like we stay in the same apartment complex, and like it's still the same amount of time, like the same minutes of walk. Yeah, you said everything.
I'll just add a little bit. The houses, all the housing units. We work with a real estate company on the island, and what they do is they go through and they look at the inventory of housing in the community, and they inspect the housing, make sure that it is proper living space, has good internet, good water, good electricity, has adequate furniture and supplies, and they work directly with the landlords for any issues. Students file complaints or concerns about their housing, like the water is we need the water to run properly. It goes directly to that real estate company, and they work with the landlords to correct the issue. So we meet regularly with that group to make sure that they are following through with all of those complaints or concerns. And I'm happy to report we've really worked well with them, and we've been able to develop a really good relationship. But the most specific thing is to answer Kiana's question. We don't have on-campus housing, and the housing that we do have that's off-campus is we verify that it's a good, strong place to live. During hurricane season, if there was one to come, we want students to come to the shelter anyway. So that's something that we work with the students on to make sure that everybody does come to the shelter. But the housing is good. The university does have on-campus housing facilities, but in a partnership with the government, we wanted to make sure that we are supporting the community financially and with the businesses that they have. Many people in the community own apartments and properties. So as the school builds and grows, we want to make sure that they're getting a source of income, and we are not leasing out any of our on-campus housing at this time. So again, it's another good partnership that we have with them.
And just sorry.
I just wanted to add something. And then I know one concern I had that I think a few people also have naturally moving to somewhere that weather can be unpredictable at times is electricity. And I just wanted to add that the apartments that are vetted through that real estate company are all required to have a backup generator. So at times, it doesn't have to be a hurricane, but just like really random, like sudden downpours, or just in any case of maintenance for electricity or like the local company, Our generators turn on, I think it's within 10 to 30 seconds. It's just like someone turns off the lights and then turns them back on. So I think that's also a plus, is that all the apartments do have that backup generator, which is helpful as a student and also in times where you do need to contact other people.
And we just went through an inventory of the emergency and the backup generators, so they're all working and operational. There are emergency services, Kyler, so the emergency number is 911, just like in the United States. What is it in Canada, Christine?
It is also 911.
There we go.
Very easy.
In the UK, I know it's 999, so you never know sometimes, but it's 911. And students can call it, and they will come for emergency services. Are there shuttle buses running every 5 minutes to and off campus? In the evenings, at under certain hours, the security team will transport students home, but we don't have shuttle buses at this point. Most of the students live very close, and during the day, it's easy to walk and safe to walk. If it's raining or if it's late, without a doubt, the security team will take students to their home. That's something that we do offer. But as to your question, every 5 minutes, no, there's not a bus shuttle every 5 minutes. Can they use their normal phone plans? So why don't we go on to communications next, and I'll answer that. So there are plans that students can get for international. So they're service providers. They could use international plans, and I would suggest you take a look at those. For a little bit more, they can tap into the service provider that's there on the island. What is it called? What is the service provider? Students, y'all remember what the name of that company is? Is it CaribServe or?
There's one called Flow. I know there's a few.
Yeah,
Flow.
there's Flow and there's Digicel. Yeah.
Digicel and Flow. So, and they can connect through that international plan from your service provider at home. They can connect, and it's just an additional charge. What most of our students tend to do is they'll download WhatsApp and use WhatsApp pretty significantly because their apartments have internet and the school has internet. So I use WhatsApp myself, even though I'm here in the United States, and it's fantastic. So that's what most of our students do. A few of them do buy some cell phones. They're more like temporary use phones, prepaid phones. I don't think a lot of them do. I think it's infrequently some will just have one, but people can get some of those sort of disposable phones, and they tend to work. So communications also, though, so all of the students who come are adults. So if you contact the school, we have a regulation and a policy that we follow called FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. So we wouldn't talk to you about your student specifically unless we had specific permission from the student to talk to you about them. And then even then, we would, have a limited sort of information that we would give. What we can do, though, is you can contact us, and we can, like, for instance, if you haven't heard from them in a while, you can contact us, and we will contact the student, say, give your mom and dad a call. They haven't heard from you in a while, and they want to make sure you're okay. That's totally fine. But we wouldn't talk necessarily about their grades, their performance, or anything else without specific approval. And if we're really strict about following the regulation, we wouldn't even let you know that they were students there without that permission. So that's not to say under emergency circumstances, if something happened with them, we would definitely contact you and let you know what's going on and keep you informed, because there are exceptions under those circumstances where we can reach out to family, and we will and would do. Communications in general, we give frequent updates to students about inclement weather, different events that are happening on the island. Dr. White, our campus dean and senior associate dean of student affairs, he kind of does a lot of those communications, and it's updates about what's going on in the classroom, what's going on in the community, different needs that the students need to be made aware of. And in particular, I think the most important for families and parents is the potential for weather events. I encourage everybody during orientation to sign up for something called STEP if they're coming from the United States. It's the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. That is a service provided by the government that registers yourself, registers the student as studying abroad and living abroad in Dominica, and the government will send out regular updates about all kinds of different things that someone needs to be aware of as they're living outside of the United States. Canada has one as well called ROCA. It's of Canadians Abroad. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's the Registration of Canadians Abroad. And it's the exact same function from the Canadian government. Am I forgetting anything on communications, folks? No, I think I covered WhatsApp, covered phone services, covered communications from the school. Under weather events, we will also kind of have a feed of information. Let's say a hurricane is going to cross. One of the things that we will do is have a feed of information so families can see what's happening on the island. And that's in particular if we lose contact and students can't talk to their parents and parents can't talk to the students directly. We'll let you know through our satellite phone how the students are doing, what our next steps are. That's all part of the playbook that I described earlier. All right, supporting your student. So there's lots of different ways to support your student. From our end, some of the things that we do is we build a community of a nice, tight-knit community that is supportive. So a lot of medical schools at times are very sort of intense and cutthroat. And one of the things that I've heard our students talk about, which I'm really happy about, is that it's a very supportive environment, because the design of the curriculum, which is fantastic, it's best in class if you ask me, is a small group learning design that 10 students, roughly 10 to 12 students, are in a classroom with the same 10 to 12 students from year 1 through year 2. So all the time that they're in their pre-clerkship time in Dominica, they're studying pretty intensely with that same group of students. So they have to get along, one. And two, they have to increase the success of each other, because as one person in that group succeeds, the entire team succeeds. So it's a very supportive environment in that sense. We build community events and activities so that they have other healthy things to do aside from studying. So there's basketball events, volleyball events, culture nights. We just had a Halloween event. We also had Creole Day, and we try to get students involved in understanding the culture of the island, because it's super valuable to be able to have that experience and take it elsewhere. And it can only help them as doctors in the future be able to understand and empathize with a large variety of people. There are occasional lectures, and I think those lectures come from visiting faculty. But maybe the students, can y'all talk a little bit about what that lecture and small group experience is like?
Okay, I'll first talk about the small group, and it's the one I find like that's been the most helpful. Like, I know IT is to be taught in like a whole field with like 300 students, and I know what that has done for me. Like, if I know the lecturer or the professor doesn't know I exist in class, my brain is turned off. Like I'm not paying attention. So it's not like I do it purposely, it's just something that just happens. But before I came here, I found out like it was, a small group setting. I was like, okay, this is good because it'll actually, force you to learn because you can't hide behind a chair, or you can't hide behind 50 students. It's just it's not a round table, it's kind of like a rectangular table. So the professor sees everybody and everybody must participate. So that like helps me in general because yes, I'm a shy person. I really don't like to talk sometimes, but it actually pushed me to actually, try to learn and learn. And also with my other small group, like everybody has something to say. So you're not just learning from the professor, you're learning from your peers too. So everything kind of like just adds up and like really, really makes you a better student and makes the whole learning process much like 10 times more efficient, in my opinion. Then also the morning lectures from outside of visiting faculties. It's usually from medical doctors, medical doctors in specialized fields like nephrologists, pediatricians. I think we've had psychiatry, we have had cardiologists. Yeah. So basically, you just come and like share their experience, and I've also found that like helpful too, because it's you're learning from somebody like first and like somebody that's been in that field for 10 years, like knows the nitty gritty of it. So I've also like found that helpful too. I don't know if Delilah wants to add to it.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Shabui said, and I agree. I'm the same. I think I thrive in smaller settings only because I think at some point when you get so close to your classmates and spend every day with them, you are extra prepared because you all rely on each other at the end of the day and you don't want to let your classmates down. So I think it's also a really cool way of holding students accountable in not a stressful way, but in a way that you want to know everything so you're able to explain it to your classmates just in case, and vice versa. Yeah, Shimura pretty much covered it all. I also think that I really appreciate a lot of the lectures come from like large academic institutions in this space, and they're all not only in academia but also clinicians. So it's cool to get that perspective from them because I think we're all either going to end up in the U.S. or in Canada for rotations, and it's kind of nice to get a head start in knowing how they think, because in the future that's who I could possibly be working with, and kind of learning from them gives you an idea of what to expect in the future.
And an incredibly valuable piece of that is the networking opportunity. So they're in the field. Oftentimes they've been residency directors, or they are within the clinics that are bringing in and teaching the residents. So you network with them, you get to start knowing them. You can talk to them about potentially doing shadowing opportunities there during the 5-week breaks. So that's, I have to talk about that briefly. So the 5-week breaks in between semesters are fantastic. That's not something that a lot of schools have. It really allows our students to decompress and come back prepared. For instance, if you live on the West Coast of the United States, or let's say you want to go back to Nigeria, it takes a while to get there, right? It's at least 2 days to the West Coast. And how long is it to Africa, Shabumi?
It's about like 24 hours plus.
Yeah, so it wipes you out easily, right? You get tired. And if you spread it out over a couple of days, that's 2 days there and 2 days back. And then in other places I've worked, it was only a week and a half break in between semesters, and you're running around crazy trying to get FaceTime with all of your friends, like the literal FaceTime, not the phone app. Then they came back really stressed. But our students, I have often every semester asked them, "Are you ready to get back to start?" And they're like, "Yeah, I think I'm ready to start again. I'm ready. I say, then are you feeling refreshed and relaxed?" And invariably they will tell me that. And they know not to tell me something I want to hear, but to tell me the truth. So that's a fantastic opportunity. So other ways getting back to the content, supporting your student. So it is a totally different sort of educational endeavor that they're getting into. It is going to be stressful for them, and it's a good kind of stress. They're looking forward to it, but this is the career that they're moving into. So if you don't know a lot about the field of medicine, that's good. If you know a lot about the field of medicine, that's also helpful. But what you can do is be there for them and ask them, how are they feeling? Are they getting enough rest? You know, the typical parent things: getting enough rest, getting enough sleep. Are you taking care of your clothes? Are you showering? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you making friends? And just be a listening ear. Sometimes as parents, I know I do this, I get too directive with them, and I'm like, you need to do this and you need to do that. But in all fairness, my children are 12 and 14. While we may see them as that most of their lives, as younger than they actually are, listening to them, I think, helps significantly in this process, because sometimes they just need to kind of say, ugh, this was a heck of a day. But you can be there to support your students in that way. Let's move on to the next slide. It's the campus supports that we have for our students. We have an academic support team, and we're looking to expand that to an educational psychologist who will be able to help students with specific learning plans if they need remediation. We haven't hired that position yet, but we have definitely moved closer towards that hire. But in the meantime, we do have an academic support team who will talk to them about their focus for studying and their preparation and what they can do to improve at baseline. The other supports that we have are the faculty. So that small group learning environment is a great opportunity for students to ask all kinds of questions. I try to encourage all students when they come in to get used to asking any dumb question that crosses their mind, because we know that they come in not knowing, and we want them to ask the questions because that's how they learn. And the faculty, having that close proximity to them, definitely develop a strong relationship, and they know exactly how the students are performing. They know where their gaps in knowledge are, and they help point them in the directions to go deeper on specific topics as they're facilitating the lectures during the day in the small group environment. And they can also help them say, I noticed that during office hours, I noticed that you need to get more information and more depth of knowledge in this. So here are some additional supplemental resources for you to take a look at. Make sure that you go back to the foundations content, take a look there, because that is what this is built upon. So the faculty really know. We have counseling on campus that students can go see. They can go see a therapist if they're feeling very stressed out and learn some different skills. A lot of what we're trying to do and focused on doing intentionally is optimizing the student's performance. From that's the counseling, the academic support, the faculty and curriculum design, and even the breaks. We're trying to create and the housing design. All of those things are designed so that students are really focused on only the things that they need to pay attention to in the classroom. And a lot of the other environmental things are limited. So I can tell you, if they don't have to deal with landlord issues, that's a huge headache off of their shoulders. But all of what we do is intentionally there to help them succeed and optimize their performance. Let's move on to the next one. So basic needs. We've already talked a bit about housing. Food, there is food. We take students down to, every other week down to the capital city to go to one of the bigger grocery stores, but there are markets nearby in the community that students can get some basic needs there and basic food items. We just get better prices and a more variety down in the capital city. We definitely keep an eye on that for them. I noticed the question about how many semesters and years it is. We're going to cover that in just a little bit. The last thing I wanted to talk, it's not really a basic need, but I really just wanted to reinforce the notion that, we've been open for 3 years roughly now. And while we've been open for 3 years, the campus leadership and the administrators at the school have been doing this for a really long time. So I've been doing it for 20 plus years, or 20 years, and I'm sort of the junior member. So I have a lot of experience, but the people like Dr. White, Dr. Parvin Bagarpour, and Carrie James, the president, they've all been doing it for even longer than I have. So, and specifically in medical education. Our founder and academic dean, who are not the same person, but our founder, Dr. Arvind Bagarpour, and our academic dean, Dr. Ramin Ahmadi, they have set up residency programs around the United States. They have a lot of network connections around in the medical community. So what I'm talking about specifically is the credibility and skill set that our group of administrators and leadership have are phenomenal. I feel very good about the school around that. Christine?
Can I jump in about the Canadian side? On my direct supervisors, Dr. Padmos and Sandra Banner. Dr. Padmos was the former CEO of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons in Canada, and he's a practicing hematologist in Nova Scotia. So he has been one of the top doctors in Canada for many, many years. And Sandra Banner was the former CEO of CARMS, the residency match. So the iterations that you see in the match as it is today were designed by Sandra. So on the Canadian side, in addition to the other senior leaders, you're very, very well supported by a wealth of knowledge in both the US and Canadian markets.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some really big names and big skill sets that we have. And the school in general is, it has a board of advisors that oversee the work that the school is doing in addition to accreditors. So we have lots of eyes on all of the work that's being done, and a lot of work around the safety, security, and needs of your students to make sure that they're well taken care of while they're here. You want to move to the next slide? I'll leave that. I want to hand this one over to you, Christine.
Yeah, of course. So I know obviously medical education can be a large investment of both time and finances. So we have a really wonderful financial aid department and team that at the core of what they do, it's personalized and it's counseling. So from the moment you receive your offer of admission to when you are an enrolled student to when you are graduating and exiting ACSOM, you will have a personalized approach to your financial education. And from folks that have been doing this for a very long time. So it's very personal. So I won't get into the nitty-gritties of everything and everyone's personal finances, but the moment you get accepted, one of the first things that we do, your advisors, myself, my colleagues in admissions, we will tell you, please set up an appointment with our financial aid department so you can really understand what paying for your medical school is going to look like. We have credit-based loans. If you're in Canada, they really work with you for professional lines of credit. I know some of the loans in the US are changing, so they're very knowledgeable about what loans look like, what we offer in terms of private loans, and what you are eligible for. If you're a little scared about your personal credit, they do credit repair. They do a lot of advising in terms of ways that you can increase your credit scores in order to be eligible for loans. So it is very personal to you, your specific finances, or your family's finances if you are getting support from parents or partners. So I really recommend connecting with our financial aid department and just seeing what that looks like from you, from credit repair to the scholarships that are available to you, to loan disbursements, to repayment plans. All of that is covered in depth from our really, really fantastic team. And they just really work through what these loans look like for you and what it is specific to you and if you are getting support, if you are not getting support, if you need a loan from ACSOM, if you are getting a professional line of credit. So I really encourage all folks to meet with our financial aid team, and I can put that in the chat after this. And of course, if there's any questions about financial aid, happy to answer those. But that's kind of a high-level overview of what we do for you and what is available to you. But just also the heart of it is really great people giving really great advice and working with you personally.
And what I would also add here is I would go ahead and fill out an application. I would take it seriously, of course, but I would go ahead and fill out the application so you can begin that conversation. Their workload is somewhat limited, and availability, I guess, is a better way to say it. Their availability may be somewhat limited if you're not already in the pool of people as applicants. And while we're on the financing portion of this, our founder left school when he was finished, Dr. Arvind Bagarpur, with a significant amount of student debt. And one of his main driving forces in this design is that he doesn't want students to leave the school with a lot of debt, and a significant amount more than they have to. And he also doesn't want students to leave without a credential. So, if students have to leave due to a lack of success academically, we understand that, and that does happen, but we also want people to leave at the appropriate times. We don't want people to get all the way close to clerkship and then have debt without any chance of having a credential to match with that. An additional thing that we do, because we know that there's multiple applications that people put through, is if you are accepted, the seat deposit we've kept extremely reasonable. Most Caribbean medical schools only have $1,000 for their seat deposit, and we've matched what it is typical in the United States and had it at $100. We have it at $100. So, it can add up if you're applying to many different places in addition to $1,000. So we wanted to keep all of those things very reasonable. So we're always thinking about the finance piece of it. I just want to, let's move on to the next. And this is a little focus on the academics. So to your question, Vic, so there's 4 years in total of the academic endeavor. So the first 2 years is your pre-clerkship years in Dominica, where you study the basic sciences in a case-based model in the small group learning environment. After you finish that, you sit for step 1, and this goes to another person's, the USMLE question. Then you sit for step 1, USMLE step 1. When you pass that, then you go into your clerkship for the final 2 years, and you complete your core and elective rotations, which are required by our accreditors as well as residency programs to make sure that you have gained the sufficient education needed to become a doctor and to graduate from a medical school. Once you've finished your step, then you take step 2, CS and CK during those clerkship years. Step 3 happens during residency, but during the end of your clerkship years, you will start to interview for residency programs. You'll make those connections and go on those interviews, and then you'll go into residency. So 4 years completing your education, step 1 at the end of the pre-clerkship, then step 2, CS and CK during your clerkship, and then you apply to residency. I can't really answer the IMG doctor question because I'm not sure I understand it completely. Because there are people who are international medical graduates from other schools, and they have a whole other process that they have to follow. But our students, when they graduate from our program, are able to obtain residency in the United States and in Canada. And they're able to sit for USMLE Step 1 and Step 2.
As well as the MCCQE 1 in Canada, if you'd like to come back to Canada.
Thank you. Yeah, and we want, and I really support that. There's a physician shortage in Canada, as there is in the United States, and we want people to go to Canada and to the United States wherever they would like to traverse.
So on that, just say that our clerkship locations are currently in Palm Springs, California. There was a question about whether or not they're on island or off island. So our clerkship locations are currently in Palm Springs, California, and then in January we're starting in Philadelphia as well. And then for folks that are maybe interested in coming back to Canada, we are in very late stage negotiations with hospital units in Ontario to provide clinical clerkship rotations in Canada for our students. And we are the only international medical school currently pursuing core and elective rotations in Canada, just to, again, further that hope that you will come back, build your network here, and do your residency in Canada. Because as I mentioned, yes, there is a bit of a physician shortage. So we're trying to make that pathway a little bit more seamless. If you would like to do your rotations in the US and then apply for the residency match, that is always an option. But we wanted to give students another option in Canada as well.
And selfishly, I want to go visit alumni in Canada, all over Canada, because I've only been to British Columbia. But once you graduate, I want to come visit y'all at your workplace and say hi. And I want to go visit Canada, especially the cold parts, all the parts.
Scott's a huge Canada supporter. So
I am a big fan of Canada. Let's see. I have to jump off here in a second, but Christine and Delilah and Shibomi can move you through this very nicely. What I wanted to say on this next slide is our success is your success. So we are heavily invested in y'all doing well. When your students are feeling well, performing well, passing step one, and moving through the curriculum in a healthy and academically rigorous way, that will produce success for our school. So we want you to do well. I think that that's a mission that we will have from the beginning all the way through, because that is such a piece that's built into the way we're thinking about our students, is that we just want them to be well and do well. And we want them to be fantastic physicians. I grew up in a family where my father was a physician, and he didn't really enjoy being a physician. And it's not the career choice for everyone. However, for those who really have a calling and really have a passion for it, but he was a fantastic physician, I have to say that. But for those who are called to do it and are really invested in it, we want you to be the best kind of physician you could possibly be. And we're heavily invested in making sure that you have that skill set and you have that desire to, one, take care of yourself so you can take care of other people, and that you have the knowledge and skills to do so. So with that, it's a pleasure to chat with you all. If at the end, Christine, you can put my contact information up there, I'd be happy to answer any emails that you have for me. But take care and all the best.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rinker. Okay, so for the rest of us that are staying on, we covered a lot of like the why ACSOM and what makes us kind of a great place to study. So while we have our students here, I really want to make sure that we get to hear a little bit from them before we wrap up and get all your questions answered. So we will hear directly. I'm just going to get rid of this presentation, and then we can just hear directly from our students, and we'll answer some of your questions. So we have a great one right here of what does it look like if a student does not pass a STEP exam for the first time around? What support systems are in place for students that may need that extra support? So Delilah, Shibomi, if you want to just talk about general life on campus, and if you have any advice for the parents or supporters that are here tonight, as someone who is going through it, just feel free to share those experiences.
Definitely. So I think one piece of advice I do have for parents, or just anyone, siblings, partners, whoever it may be, supporting their loved ones on this journey, is to stay patient, because I would say a lot of times, just as nervous as our loved ones can be, so are we. Some people may not show it, but it is a big change. And I think just being there, as Dr. Rinker had mentioned earlier, just to listen, and knowing that sometimes your students may be busy, or may have a lot going on, or may just need some time alone. Just being able to hi and bye and like kind of check in, sign of life type thing is really important. But also, I think your student would really appreciate that as well. And I think that also kind of helps maintain a healthy relationship amongst loved ones.
To add to what Delilah said, I would say for the parents or the loved ones or the friends too, just understand what you're going through. Like it's not nobody's ignoring you. Nobody's like not nobody. The students don't purposely choose not respond to your message. It's just because they're busy. So it's mainly understanding. Like yes, they are literally busy from like Monday to Friday, and also the weekends are kind of like for rest. But I'll just say it's understanding and still supporting them, like still being there for them, showing up, sending the thoughtful message. Oh, just checking in on you. Hope you're good. Take care of yourself. Like just those little things go a really long way. Like the voice notes, just constantly supporting them, saying you're there for them if they need anything. That can also go a long way.
That's great. And there was a question about what the community looks like on campus. So are there ways to get involved? Kind of maybe what you might do in your spare time.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, no, there definitely is. I mean, I think in healthy environments, you make time for those that you want to spend time with for sure. So I think that one plus I see about our school still being relatively new and small is that everyone knows everyone and everyone is close to everyone. And I'm so thankful for that because I think a lot of students come from this pre-med atmosphere that can sometimes be toxic, hopefully not, but oftentimes you see it is. It can be very competitive. And I think that one thing that I really appreciate about ACSOM is that truly my success is dependent on my classmates' success and vice versa. The school does a really good job of making the environment not competitive and comparing students and kind of creating that atmosphere. So I think because of that, I mean, it also reflects onto the students. So yeah, everyone's super close. And in general, in our free times, Dominica is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. There's so much to do outside nature-wise, but also I think given that there is, for example, compared to a normal school city, there is like a lack of nightlife or a lack of, I don't know, it's not extremely easy to just go to the capital city. So a lot of students just tend to hang out amongst themselves. And I think those are the most fun times for me is just going to the beach or everyone just hanging out in someone's apartment, a movie night or just something along those lines. And it also helps you create that rapport with your classmates and makes your time on the island much easier.
Awesome. I know, but I just want to hear from you folks. If you know how the small groups are formed, like those 10 to 12 students, how you get kind of paired with your faculty preceptor or with the other students in your group.
Yeah, so based on my understanding, it is not up to the students are not involved in this decision at all. And it's essentially a group of faculty who sit and kind of look at either where a student is from, what they have studied in the past, kind of their background based on things provided in the application, and then it's mixed to be diverse. So like I'm not in the same class as everyone from California, or I'm not in the same class as everyone who I didn't study science in undergrad, so who didn't study science in undergrad. They have that mix so that we can all learn from each other's experiences. And it shows thinking about it now and thinking about how the small groups are divided. I think they do a pretty good job of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the questions are starting to wind down. So what I will do is I'm just going to add my, for folks that are in the chat or have more questions or think of questions later, I'm just going to put my email in the chat for everyone. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out. I also do one-on-one appointments. I speak to admissions, next steps, what you can expect from your time at ACSOM, or I'd love to chat with more parents. I do chat with students and parents together all the time just because, medical school can be a team decision. It's not something that someone necessarily does on their own. So I'm just going to answer one last question in the chat about it's not a residency in Ontario. It would be a clinical clerkship. So where you would do 2 years of still considered your undergraduate training. So years 3 and year 4 at ACSOM is in your clerkship rotations. And in Ontario, it will be kind of in maybe around the GTA area. We can't say specifically where the hospital is just because we haven't formally signed the agreement. But once we do, it will definitely be announced, because I know we've got some Canadians on the call. And as I mentioned, I'm in Peterborough, and we have a physician shortage here. We actually just got a new family doctor, and it made the news. They wrote a full write-up about this family doctor, and he's an IMG as well. So we're very excited to have him, but that's how kind of bad things are in my area. So we're really excited about that. I'm just going through to see if there's any more questions before we wrap up. Oh, this is a great question. If the students have classes during the clerkship years, and I know neither of you folks are in your clerkship years, but do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so during the clinical rotations, I know that based off what I know from like previous classmates that I stay in touch with, that the majority of the learning is done through like going to the clinic every day or going to your rotation every day. But the school does provide supplemental resources, because after every rotation, you'll take a shelf exam. And that shelf exam, I mean, you have to obviously pass to be able to move on. So those resources are provided by the school, but all of the learning is done through the sites. And I know that the specific rotation sites themselves do have lectures for all the students there, because there may be students from other schools, or like their residents, or just anyone kind of that wants to attend. So in the sense of a classroom setting, there is that, but no formal classroom setting from ACSOM as of now.
Yeah, that's right. And in terms of how many semesters there are in an academic year, do you want to talk a little bit about we talked about what the curriculum is, but do you want to talk about, how the modules and that are structured?
Yeah. In terms of a semester, there are 3 modules. Each module lasts for about approximately like 7 weeks. So after each module, we do the summative exam. That is we get tested on everything we have learned from week 1 to week 7 of that module, and then you have to pass to move to the next module. Then same as the next module, from week 1 to week 7, at the end of each module, we take an exam. Then that's pretty much how it's structured. And after the 3rd module, we have the 5 weeks break. Then after 5 weeks, we come back, then rinse and repeat.
Okay, great. Well, I think the questions have wrapped up in the chat, and I really appreciate Shibomi and Delilah. Delilah, I saw your family and yourself in the presentation, a very beautiful photo at the white coat. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We really appreciate hearing your perspective, and I know it probably helps students make an informed decision on what going to ACSOM looks like, and helping parents and supporters kind of get a peek behind the curtain about what they can expect, what comes next, and how they can best support their future doctor. So thank you for your time. I'm sure you've got lots of things to get back to. And thank you everyone for joining and taking some time out of your evenings to learn a little bit more about ACSOM, and hopefully see it as a really great fit for yourself, your child, your partner, or that person in your life that's taking that next step. So thank you everyone, and have a great evening, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Take care. Thanks everyone.